This is Wholesaling Houses Elite, the no fluff and BS podcast with tips and tricks to help you become an elite wholesaler. Our guest will spill the beans on what it takes to be the best.
Hey, Elite members, this is Maxwell. Welcome to the Wholesaling Houses Elite Podcast. And today my guest is William Dennis. Now, you guys might remember if you listen to the past episodes of this show, William is in South Florida, and William and I have grown to be pretty cool buddies. But William, just to recap, if you haven't heard the last previous podcast, William usually he used to work at Merrill Lynch. He got fired. And within the first 6 months, he pumped out a $40,000 wholesale deal. So if you haven't watched that one, make sure you go listen to that. I think that was episode 2 or 3. Doesn't feel that long ago, but we took a break from the podcast and now we're back. So go check out episode 3, I believe it is, William Dennis. But now William, he's still in South Florida, and he's doing fix and flips now. I've seen crazy, beautiful pictures. I don't know who your photographer is, but crazy. But anyways, William, welcome to the show again. How you doing today?
Thank you, Max. No, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty well, man. So kind of tell me what's been going on, just like in a nutshell here recently. You're doing flips. So how did you get into that? I mean, how long have you been in the business now? It's not even a year yet, has it?
April 15th will be a year officially.
Okay, so we're a couple days away from probably when this airs. It'll probably be the 1 year. So now you're 1 year and you're doing fix and flips in South Florida. So tell me, how did you get in? How did you go from wholesaling? You're still wholesaling, but how are you getting into fix and flips?
Yeah, so since the last time that we were on the podcast, right, that was my biggest wholesale deal to date back then, and not long after because of that deal, that was my first deal with a private capital partner. So that was my first deal that we actually took down. And 3 weeks ago, we actually did the closing on the flip, and that was a huge deal on the back end as well.
So that was cool. So you were able, I forgot, you actually wholesaled it and still had equity in the flip side of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $72,000 on the back end.
Wow. So that was a monster deal. Man, so it reminds me now. Definitely go back and listen to that podcast. So now you're fixing and flipping. How is the wholesaling side of things going in South Florida, which is everybody deems to be a very competitive market?
It is extremely competitive. We've moved away. I mean, even on the last podcast, I had mentioned with the mail, right? We're not doing that. We haven't done that since. Nothing's changed on there. We are looking, like we were talking the other day, we're looking to bring up some more mail now. Very targeted niche list that, we're just trying to test it with our other marketing channels and trying to augment it with some mail as well. But again, very laser focused targeting, not high equity, none of that stuff. No blanketing with the mail. We started moving into fix and flips, which hasn't slowed down our wholesaling. On the contrary, I'd say that our wholesale business, yes, we do sell to other investors. We have 2 wholesale deals that are closing next week that are some pretty sizable deals as well. Those are closing out to buyers that are not my own. But the cherry pick deals, as you like to call them, definitely come within our fix and flip business. They're 2 separate entities, but one sells to the other, and both businesses make money. So that's a beautiful thing. But the fix and flips is wonderful because I have an uncle who's a GC, and he really runs everything on the fix and flip side. That way I can, my highest and best use of my time is underwriting and looking for deals and finding better ways to market, and ways to fill up the wholesale pipeline, right? Because it feeds the other business. So
when you say your uncle's a GC, for people that are not sure, that's a general contractor, right?
Right. Yeah. So he's in construction, owns quite a bit of real estate himself. So he has a property management business too. He's very familiar with the business. So it works out wonderful.
So now that you get to play on both sides of the field, and I say that because a lot of wholesalers never see the side of the actual fix and flip business, have you gotten better at your numbers to understand what your numbers need to be?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. You know, we're on our 6th rehab right now, and that's from October to now. So we've been cranking out pretty much one a month. We're looking to build up that number. My number, I would like it to be 35 rehabs in the year of 2018. So we're definitely on track to hit that. But what I've learned primarily from it is, you know, you tend to look at the numbers very differently when you're running a budget on the other side. So you do tend to find out, you know, what the rehab actually costs, and the I like to call it the oops money. So you find that out really quickly. Like on our rehab that we flipped out in Kendall, Miami, that had a big oops, right, with plumbing that we were talking about with the copper plumbing.
Yeah. So but you one of the big questions with a lot of new wholesalers and people in the game is that finding the price, the rehab price. Have you gotten better at it? What are some tips you found? Do you do the square footage method? Do you just know what things cost? Or do you leave that to your uncle when you actually get a house under contract?
I mean, this is the best way I could put it to you. Yes, my actual numbers have gotten better. If it's a sight unseen offer that we're making, because we actually have had we've moved more into, and I guess we'll get into that in a second, but we've moved more into trying to DocuSign contracts over the phone, sight unseen. So if we could do it, we're in such a competitive market that has to be done.
Now,
so
tell me what advantage. I sorry to cut you off, but I just want to break down some things to our listeners. Tell me what you're in a very competitive market. So what advantage do you have by putting houses under contract over the phone with motivated sellers? What does that look like?
Well, the biggest thing is I have equitable interest now. Now I control the deal. So if I can get you to DocuSign, right, and you're the decision maker before I come out to your house, sometimes, more often rather than not, it might not be tomorrow. Like if you and you're a motivated seller, right? I'm on the phone with you, or my team's on the phone with you. Well, you might not be able to meet me tomorrow. So maybe you tell me, oh, well, you know, what about next week on Monday? Do you know how many things can happen from today to next week on Monday?
Yeah.
I'm not the only one playing in this pond. So if I get you to lock it in with me via DocuSign, well, now I'm secured on the A to B side, on the front side. So if you or God knows how many other wholesalers that are here come along, it's already under contract. So you gotta deal with me at least. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. So do you ever negotiate? Do you ever put it up? I don't do it that way. Obviously, I'm not in the most competitive market like you are, but now you put a house under contract over the phone. I still want to go deeper because I'm learning as I'm speaking to you. Is there a calculator that you follow? Is it within the margin? So, for example, let's just keep the numbers simple. We know your numbers are not like that. Do you play around with 70% of ARV? Is it hot in that market, or is it in a hotter market like you are? Can you bump that number up?
I do have to bump that number up. Most of the times we play in the 80% of ARV.
Okay.
So it's ARV times 80%. I usually use a square footage rule. My brother-in-law, who's my partner, he's the lead manager. He does an awesome job at what he does. From him seeing me on my rehabs, he's learned as well. And I tell him, hey, Anthony, you know, a floor is $5,000, you know, on a 1,300 square foot house. And you got to buy 1,600 square feet of floor just to have some extra, right?
Correct, yeah.
Little things.
Oops.
Or like a kitchen.
Stuff.
Yeah, the oops stuff, right? Because people think, oh, I'll buy 1,300 square feet of floor. You need more.
Yeah, we usually buy 10% more. Yeah.
Right, 100%. So, you know, little things like that, like a roof. Now we know what a roof costs, right? I've done 4 roofs now, and it's not fun. So if you don't build that into your calculation and your profit margin is $35,000, let's say, well, if a roof costs $10,000 to $15,000, that kind of eats away at your margin, right? That just became half of the deal, pretty much. So
you're getting these houses under contract over the phone. You've now got better at the numbers, and sometimes you have to go out and renegotiate, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about that on my last deal here. So
okay.
That is something.
Let's back it up, because now now you've got two separate entities. Let's kind of focus on the wholesaling stuff. What does your wholesaling side of your company look like, right? And how many people, personnel? You talk about your brother-in-law, Anthony, which I've met when I was at your birthday a few months ago down in Miami. Tell me what your company looks like, who works in your office and all that type of stuff.
Well, as of right now, we have a pretty we still have a pretty bootstrapped operation. Looking to change that up here. We're actually in the works of doing that. We're trying to create the best decision as to what route that looks like. We are going to have to get an office. I want to get an office for accountability purposes and also for the camaraderie. And, I'm talking about that with you.
So you're telling me you're doing these deals. You're at home. Anthony's at home. Your other staff is at home. You guys are working virtually, essentially, right? So you essentially don't need an office.
No, you don't. You definitely don't. But for what we want to do,
absolutely,
which is build up a sales floor, and we want to increase that pipeline from here to here, and locally, to get some snipers on the phone, we definitely need that office so we can run it correctly and it can be as efficient as possible. That's the model that we're looking to build out: technology with salesmanship in house. That's what we're looking to do with support virtually from virtual systems.
Okay.
That's the model that we're playing with.
Now go over your personnel. Tell me who you have working with you.
Well, my partner is my brother-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is strictly on the wholesale side.
Yeah.
Anthony is the lead manager, right? And among other things, but he is the client-facing, if you will, right? The motivated sellers come through him first.
Mm-hmm.
He does comps. He's very, very sharp when it comes to all this stuff, and he's learned a lot from being in the business. So he'll negotiate over the phone, and he's gotten really good at hammering down people on the phone. And by that, I mean pre-qualifying them. So pre-qualifying them correctly. So when I go out on an appointment, and now we're looking to hire an acquisition manager. So, by the way, if anybody's listening in South Florida, hit me up.
Oh my God, you're going to get bombarded after this.
Yeah. No, listen, I want one quality person, maybe two. So with that being said, that way I'm not going out to appointments on time wasters,
Mm-hmm.
So, he's gotten better at specific questions and telling people, like, for example, we changed the expectations on the phone. And what do I mean by that? Before, our expectation was, we'll go out there and we'll take a look at the house, right? Like if somebody told us that, a motivated seller would tell us that. That tone has completely shifted. So I changed that entire shift and we told Anthony that and said, look, we need to say, look, we don't look at houses. We don't go view houses. We buy houses. So if we send somebody out there, are the decision makers going to be there? Oh, no. All right. Well, give us a time when all the decision makers are going to be there. All right. At 6 p.m. Okay, great. Listen, if I send somebody out there and we can agree on a price, are you ready to sign a contract? Because we're going out there to buy the house, not to view the house.
So that's
just
important.
Simple lines like that to hammer them. So
that's important. I'm actually going to implement that starting tomorrow with Leica, but that makes sense. So you're saying you're getting them on the phone and you're telling the motivated seller that, hey, I'm actually going to buy your house. I don't want to come look at it. So make sure that when I'm coming, you are there to make that decision. If I decide that I want to buy it, I want to buy it.
Yeah. And, that goes back to, inspecting what you expect, right? And that is a huge shift that we had. I went to a mastermind event in Miami, which a buddy of mine, Ray, ran it. Amazing event. And one of the major things there was some high level guys there. It was that clarity of going back and saying, hey, we need to have such an expectation, right? A right expectation of what we expect as the investors, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to remember, right? And I know you know this, but to everyone who's listening, these motivated sellers, they've probably only bought one real estate asset transaction in their life. They have no idea what's going on. So for you to assume that they know what you know, it's and I'm guilty of it too. You have to coach them, guide them, right? And you set the expectation of how that transaction is going to go. Yeah. That's the most crucial thing. And that's the whole phone call from the beginning.
Got it.
So that's how you get the result that you want. That's how we found.
So you basically Anthony has a lot of confidence now, and he's letting them know that, hey, we don't want to waste our time viewing your house. I hope you're ready to actually sell your house because we're going to actually come and buy your house. Right.
Right. So, and you know, at the end of the day, this is a John Martinez thing. Shout
out to John Martinez, by the way. He's in one of the masterminds I'm in.
He's a beast. So, you know, we stopped being eager buyers, right? Like that has gone away a long time ago.
Yeah.
So when I'm at somebody's house, I mean, now it's kind of a little bit different. I always like to think that I had that confidence even before I had the ability to close on all these transactions. But certainly when I walk into a house now, I more often than not, I'm like, listen, you know what? I'm just not the guy for you. And I'll tell them right there. I'm like, you should probably sell it with a realtor.
And that is called going negative. And I tell you what, that John Martinez thing, and if you guys don't know John Martinez, we're friends, but seriously, the way that he teaches you how to sell, you should definitely look at it. The name of his company is the Midwest Revenue Group, and no, he's not paying for this plug. I'm just really telling you, if you want to be good at walking in the house and selling, you need to go see John Martinez. I don't know what his courses cost because I've never bought it. I'm just telling you, being with the guy and hearing some things from third party like yourself, it's the truth, and I use it. And and I don't go on a lot of appointments, but for my last appointments, I'm 5 for 5.
Yeah. It's scary when you actually give somebody the ability to say no. When you give that motivated seller the ability to say no, and you say, hey, listen, you know what? I got a lot of other houses to view. Maybe I'm just not your guy.
Man, don't give them too much. Let them go to John's course because it's like you're giving them pieces, but it's good. You're right. Giving a seller the opportunity to say no, because Martinez talks about the only true deal killers are maybe or I'll talk to you tomorrow or something like that. But it goes way beyond that. But so now we see you're structured, your team. Do you have any remote employees, virtual assistants?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, what is he or she's role and responsibility? You're probably making a deal right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually texting on a deal. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. So they pull probate records for us. They do some skip tracing for us. They have 14, 15 SOPs now, standard operating procedures, that we filmed and screen shared exactly what they need to do. Mm-hmm. So they have a multitude of tasks that they do daily. They'll follow up on some leads, like listening to callbacks and stuff like that, and filtering them into Podio. They do a number of things. Really.
So a lot of administrative things right now for you.
Correct. Yeah. And it's all the mundane tasks that, we don't need to be involved in.
Yeah. So it's three in your company. You're a company of 3. You're doing well. Let's talk about some marketing stuff. Tell me like some of your top 2 marketing channels that you're doing right now. You say you're not doing mail, but you're going to slowly test to try to get into something, do some real targeting mail pieces. Tell me kind of what's working for you right now.
So we're doing a lot of voicemail drops, and that's working out tremendously. We're rolling out now texting as a follow-up system where, you and I were talking about that. We'll see how that goes. I don't have definitive numbers on that yet. We also do some cold calling when we're, in between drops and stuff like that. And we're huge on the follow-up game. Huge.
Now explain. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but sometimes I have to go back and make sure they understand the audience. What do you mean by voicemail drops?
So we just send out a voicemail. We record a voicemail, and it's ringless, so it goes directly into that motivated seller's voicemail box.
And there's many services to do this, guys. So if you want to look it up and see what you can do. You can check that out.
There's a number of them.
Where are you getting? Because you're skip tracing. Your systems. Obviously, we talk a lot, so our systems are the same. Where are you getting your numbers from?
The phone numbers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're skip tracing through REI Skip. We do batch skip tracing. So what that means is that we can send in like a list of, let's just say 10,000, right? Names and addresses. Mm-hmm. And we'll get that back. We'll send it in as a whole Excel, not a one-off transaction, like one by one. It'll just go the whole thing.
Because you're doing volume. You want to. So we use REI Skip right. as well too. A lot of the elite members already know that. We talk about it in the group. It allows us to send. It allowed us to send off. We do 50,000 records a month. So we'll send those records off, and those that come back. Now they don't all come back. There's no if you have a source where all your numbers are coming back, you're a genius. But yeah, out of a 50,000, you should see a good 40,000, 45,000 of those numbers come back. So now you got the numbers. You're doing your voicemails. Do you do any bandit signs in your market?
No.
Okay. Do you do PPC as in Google ads?
We used to. We figured out that we had to hone in on other strategies that were more cost effective, because in our market, there's about 3 to 5 players that are some heavy hitting players that they're spending 20 to 40 grand a month in PPC.
Wow.
Which is $1,000 a day. It's really not that uncommon. They're getting a lot of deals, but you'll get drowned out really quickly. So that's just not a space that we were willing to play in yet.
Okay. So everything looks like it's going well for you. You're growing. Tell me about your last deal.
All right. So the last deal, it actually was like 2 deals in the same week, but the last deal was a deal here in Miami. And
where did it come from? What marketing channel did it come from?
It was voicemail drop.
Okay.
So it was a voicemail drop, and then we went out to the appointment. Actually, no, we didn't. I'm lying. We didn't go out to that appointment. That was a DocuSign that I'm telling you about.
Okay.
So we actually we followed up with this guy the first time we spoke to him. Didn't work out. He said, call me back next week. Anthony followed up. I have to give him tremendous credit because he just sticks with it and there's no stopping. So by the 3rd week, it was down to us and this other guy, which is funny that the other guy's name is, I'm not going to mention it, but it was a friend of mine that's was an acquisition manager. And you know who I'm talking about in this market, no longer here. So he offered, right? So I kind of had to match him on the phone with the seller. And I said, yeah, you know what? I'll give you 208. That was the number. It was actually 2085 is where I went. And he said, all right, fine. And we said, look, but if we give you that number, there's another little line that you can use. If we give you that number, we need to have a signed contract today. We're going to e-sign it for you because we want to appropriate those funds to make sure that we can close on your house. Now, we're viewing houses every day.
Now, one of my things I'm thinking out loud here is that you're getting contracts over the phone. How you make first of all, you make a random phone call to a stranger, right? You know that they're on some type of list of motivation. It takes you, you end up talking to this individual, and then you make an offer over the phone without seeing the house. And then you say, sign the document, and they've never met you. What type of confidence must you instill in the seller in order to gain their trust so that this works out?
I mean, you have to build rapport on the phone. And, I'm a firm believer that it's all about saying the right thing. And I think that's a testament to Anthony and our script. So it's really just, it's this simple. Like, we want to buy your house. Have we agreed on a price? Yes, we have. Are we close? Sometimes you're going to be close. Fine. That's fine. But I would much rather lock in a deal today and then worry about a price reduction a week from now if I overpaid, which happened. It happened on this deal, and we got a price reduction.
So tell me,
it ended up turning into a huge deal.
So let's go more. So you've got this guy. You're going back and forth for 3 weeks. You get a competitive deal. You offer 208.5. He agrees to it. You says, I'm going to make you this offer, but you got to sign today. You send him the DocuSign. He signs. Now what happens next?
Well, I mean, we had the DocuSign, so we had a 7-day inspection in that particular deal. Which is typical. We like to shoot for 10. Now we've become more aggressive with our offers. Now I'll give you a 3-day inspection, especially if I know that I'm closing on it. I'll give you a 3-day inspection, no problem. And I'll weave out almost 95% of all the wholesalers here because no one has a cash buyers list like that, and no one has the ability. Yeah, 3 day. I'll do a 1 day if I know for a fact I'm closing.
Yeah.
Or I'll do a 0 day inspection with an additional term that says subject to one walkthrough. So I can go there with my GC and I can make sure that my money was on the money my estimate was on the money with him.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so what happens is that we got it. We marketed it out. We actually co-wholesale that one and another one with a really great guy down here. His name is Jim. He's like the granddaddy of wholesaling down here.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jim on that one. So he sold it for us. I mean, within a day, we had like 3 or 4 viewings. And what happened was that we had a buyer at 210, and obviously it was only a $1,500 spread, so it was too close. But I knew that I could work a reduction, right? And this is a huge thing for all you guys listening out there. Even if we're doing a $29,000 deal, which we just did, we're closing on it next week, right? We sold it last month, and dude, that's a $29,000 deal. Mm-hmm. You better believe that I still went back to the seller and I was looking for a $10,000 reduction. I didn't get it. But I'm telling you, statistically speaking, 40 to 70% of the time, you're going to get a price reduction.
So
you're going to get it.
Yeah. Tell me, you go back and ask for a price reduction. How does that go? What does that sound like?
Well, actually, Anthony did this one. This is his first one that I kind of threw him out there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. He's really
getting good then.
He's becoming a beast. He got like an $8,000 reduction on this thing. So the way that I run it is kind of just listen. You know, all the cash buyers that come to my houses, right, that we're selling, they're all GCs and partners. So you know, this person goes out there and they bid right on us. On the jobs, and they all give us different estimates. And we kind of just go back and have a conversation. We say, look, we had anticipated that the rehab costs were going to be, let's just say $30,000, right? It looks like it's going to be 45. I'm not expecting you to give me a $15,000 reduction, but what I'd like for you to do is bite the bullet with me on half of it. You know, split the difference with me. Yeah. I still want to close on this house. I am wholeheartedly ready to move forward. No more contingencies, but I need it at this price for it to make sense.
And what do? You just get an adjustment in a contract, new contract sent out?
Yeah, I get an addendum.
Addendum to the
contract. So 1-page addendum, and it says the new purchase price, buyer and seller agree the new purchase price is X. That's it.
Got it. So, man, I'm impressed. I mean, over the last 9 months, although the last 9 months of us knowing each other, you've really grown into what you're doing. You found your niche, and we've talked recently, and you're going even more deeper on the type of leads, and that's the type of stuff that I like to do because everybody knows I preach about 2 types of lead sources: your wide lead sources and your deep methods. And for you guys don't know, we go wide and we go very deep. And deep, when you go deep, you don't find any other wholesaler in that market because everybody preaches and talks about tax delinquent, probate, and all these other things. So I congratulate you on growing, you and Anthony, and I hope wish you more success. Now, this is a question I want to ask for our viewers because a lot of them are just starting, right, with zero to very little capital. If you had to start all over again, and you only had $2,000, what would you do from day one?
I would cold call. I wouldn't waste my time on mail. Mm-hmm. I'd probably go down to the courthouse. The courthouse is your best friend. The county is your best friend. Figure it out. Mm-hmm. I'll leave it at that. I had to do it. You had to do it. So
yeah, I love it. I still go.
Just what you need. And now we're in such a society. It's 2018, man, especially in South Florida. Like everything's online, dude. You can find anything online. And I mean literally anything online.
And so you mean from the courthouse?
Yeah. I mean from like crazy sources. Seriously. Like it's just the technology that you have right here. I mean, it's
without
scary.
Paying for it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. You may pay like a $25 fee or something for like
access to the city.
I don't even know how many people.
Yeah.
And just the fee.
And he's talking about, see, a lot of people say, well, where do I get my tax delinquent list? Where do I find my probate list? Or it's more than likely, unless you're in a smaller county than I am, somewhere far away in the woods, like my buddy Big Sip down in Mississippi. It is online. your tax delinquent properties from 5 years ago is a list online. And the truth is what they say. Once you put something online, it never goes away. It's somewhere on the archives. So
what I would do,
go ahead.
Going back to your question is, what I would do is that I would pound the phones, man. I'd pound the phones. If I had $2,000, I mean, we started this business with negative equity and $0. We ran that way for probably 5 months. Almost bankrupted myself with credit cards trying to do mail. I mean, we've done it. We've done it all, and we've gone down that route. A lot of brain damage. But I definitely would say cold calling, man. You could get a Mojo dialer, right, which is an auto dialer, triple line, $130 with call recording. So you could dial out 3 lines at a time. I mean, Anthony was doing $600 to $800 a day, at one point. We were just bootstrapped the crap out of this thing, and it's perfectly doable. I'd also do voicemail drops. I mean, it's a really, really cheap system. I mean, for like 5 cents, you can blast it actually for a couple pennies, you can blast it out to as many people as you want. There's a number of services out there. You just need to find the one that you want to try. But yeah, that's what I would do. I'd cultivate my own list. If I knew back then what I know now, my business would have probably done $1 million from the last year.
So real quick, you're in the middle of the month of April. What have you done so far in revenue?
42,000.
42,000 and halfway through the month. All right, guys. Yep. So there you go. I mean, there goes William. He's here, South Florida. You see, he doesn't have a big office. It's him, his brother-in-law, and one virtual assistant. And they've done $42,000 of revenue, and they haven't even hit the 15th of the month yet. So there you have it, man. William, any departing words? Where can people find you at online? All that stuff.
So online, I've recently, over the last month and a half, I've really taken an approach to Instagram, which I got to get better with, doing stories and stuff. And maybe I need to hire somebody like you that you have this professional following you around. So at Willie Numbers, WILLY Numbers. That's my Instagram handle. You can find me on Facebook too, but I usually do everything on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. I mean, if you're in South Florida and you're hungry and you got some experience, or if you don't have experience but you're really hungry, I mean, by all means, give me a shout and
I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to find the best candidate to work for you as an acquisition manager in South Florida. Start your pitch now. Go ahead, dude. It's ticking.
5 minutes right now.
Yeah, you're gonna get an acquisitions manager right from this podcast. I guarantee it.
All right. Well, I need somebody that honestly is very coachable, number one. Number two, is not afraid to do what I'm telling them to do, because just know that you're going to be riding with me. I've done this, all the deals, I personally locked them up myself, other than Anthony's on contract. So, if you want to learn the game, if you really want to get involved, and if you really want to see the nitty gritty of what this is day to day, you come with me and I'll show you the way. I mean, I was mentored by one of the best down here. And I mean, through you and through a couple other guys that are way higher level than me right now, those are my direct guys every single day that I learn from.
Yeah.
So I take pride in that. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't going to be some little fluff show. We really do deals.
Awesome, man. So there you go. There you go. So if you're in South Florida and you're looking for a job, the way to get into real estate, you're a salesperson. You don't even have to know anything about real estate. Hit Willie up on Instagram, Willie Numbers, and apply for a job with him, man. I think he's an awesome guy. Man. Yeah. And then, Willie and I are friends, so I'll be down in Miami every so often and hanging out with you guys. But Willie, look, I really appreciate you being on the Wholesaling Houses Elite Podcast. Many success to you and Anthony, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Likewise, man. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for listening to the Wholesaling Houses Elite Podcast with Maxwell. Make sure to tune in next week to see what elite wholesaler we'll have in the hot seat.